Welcome back to the small barn workshop. We eventually got round to buying a French car. Because of the large amount of hailstorms we have in this part of the world, we thought it would be beneficial if we could keep the car under cover, especially in stormy season. So whilst the car was being prepared for collection, I had a few days in which to erect a carport. So after buying the timber for the basic frames, the first thing I needed to do was ensure I had enough space down the left hand side of the small barn workshop to actually get a car into. And once I was happy with the size, it was just a case of digging 3 holes for the 3 posts that would support the left hand side of the frames. We do not have a lot of topsoil in our garden, and down this side of the barn we have about 12 inch before we hit bedrock. To fix the posts in place, I mixed a dry mix of sand and cement and then added the water once I was happy the posts were plumb. All 3 posts were planted in the same way, and I used some temporary bracing and a string line to ensure everything was in line. Well, that wasn't too bad for a afternoon's work. I've got the 3 posts set down here on the left hand side. All this at the moment is just temporary. It all has to be set to its final height. Just say I really enjoy doing jobs like this because you produce quite a lot in a short time. It's going to slow down now when I start cutting the roof, but they're going to go off hopefully tomorrow. I've still got some work to do on the base of them posts, but I'll worry about that shortly. Now get this beam set, and the one at the far end, that's at the moment just too low. It's just set just so I can get them posts in. And then in the middle I need to put a beam in. I've got a oak beam down there that I took off the front of the old terrace before I built the new one last year. So I'm going to use that oak beam and I'm going to sit that on the top of the post and level it off to the barn wall. I'll have to put some additional timbers inside the barn, just somewhere in there, just to get a fix to, and then I'll just block up the top of the rafters and create a sort of roof truss formation, a little bit like what I've got in the workshop. So a little bit like here where I've got a purl in there and then some sort of roof trusses and a bit of triangulation. A bit of mowing done. I'm just trying to get finished because there's a storm brewing. We're actually under a severe weather warning. I can see down there between the trees, but from what was blue sky we've now got blackening skies, and there's actually a little bit of thunder rumbling. Cicadas in these trees are noisy. So that's the roof sheets that I picked up yesterday for this roof, which is exactly the same as on the barn roof, just continue that roof across there. But I'll go shopping probably one day next week for the rest of the roof timbers. This weekend I'll just concentrate getting these 2 beams set, some triangulation on this side, and see if I can get that beam out of there, and then see if I can get that up in the air. Got 2 pieces for the rafters or the chevrons, so I can probably put first piece up. Probably need another 1, 2, 3, if not 4. It's not too bad. Right, I'm going to get packed up before this rain comes. It's early Sunday morning and I just thought I'd have a look at the next part of the build before the sun got up and got too hot. It was about 35 degrees yesterday and I threw the towel in about mid-afternoon. It was just too warm, and instead I went down in the comfort of an air-conditioned car and got my rafters. The next phase is going to be a little bit more difficult because I've got a little bit of a geometrical conundrum. I want to keep this beam at this height because here I can just get under it. If I bring this beam any lower, then I'm going to have to duck and occasionally whack my head on it. So ideally I'd like to keep the beam at this level. It's not quite level yet, I just have to tweak it a little bit, but it's there and thereabouts. Now, in an ideal world, if you just look at the old barn construction, you'd put the rafters in with the bearer above and then fix the roof sheet to the bearer. But from the base of the rafter to the highest point of the roof sheet is probably about 8 inch. Now I can't afford that. I want to keep this roof line the same, so if I dropped 8 inch from there, I'd probably have to move this beam down another 3.5 inch, and I don't want to do that. So I'm hoping I can play around with the roof line enough to make it fit the existing line, but also to work with the head height. Now, when I fit this roof a few years ago, I fitted it in a way that it just basically follows the contours of the barn. There's a little bit of a waviness there. But when I got to this end, because I had pretty much a 3/4 of a sheet overhanging the end, basically put this little overhang together with what I had, and I'm going to have to change some of that. The rafter sit quite nicely into the peak of the roof rather than down here underneath. So I'm going to try and set this rafter here kind of in line with the end peak and just play around with the pitch. It might be that I have to slightly bird's mouth in here to drop the rafter. So like a new roof where I could just build it and then board it without really any consequences. Here I'm just going to need to just play around with it. So probably going to spend an hour or so just trying to work out. I'm going to clamp one of them pieces to this side of the beam, which then means I can find my correct angle without it interfering. Means that the line will be at this side of the apex. Then if I work from this side and support the rafters from this side of the apex, you dial in the right pitch. And I'm just going to brace them together with a vertical upright and in essence create a king post truss. And I'll probably have about 4 of them. I'll have the rafter sat over to support the bottom of the undulations of the roofing sheet. So that's my plan. Probably going to get a cup of coffee and just play around and see if I can get the geometry to work. And once I do, then I can just carry on building out that way with whatever pitch I find. Right, let's get a cup of coffee and get cracking. Well, that's level at the top now. Might have a little bit more room at the bottom, and I think although that beam at the bottom at support is not quite level, it needs to be kicked up at that end. By the time I kick it up at that end, it might be about perfect. So I'll just put a clamp there to stop that sheet from sliding, and then I'll see if I can level this up. Put a block there, drive a wedge in maybe just to lift it up till it's level, and then if that's level and that works, we're good to go. Wowza, I am so hot. So I'm happy that I've worked out the pitch and the geometry. Doesn't really look like I've done very much today, but I did it 90 minutes before breakfast, and I keep coming out and doing half an hour and then submitting because of the temperatures. But now I know what the geometry is. I've got all my rafters cut, I've got all the king posts cut. So they're going to go up in the morning. I'm going to need another 2 rafters. When I went shopping yesterday, I bought every straight one they had. The rest were like bananas. I need to go back tomorrow when I go into town just to see if they replenish the stocks. Then the next thing I've got to do is just move this beam here to the correct height and then just continue on this side, which is the job I'll probably start off doing in the morning because this side of the barn will be in the shade, and then I can move onto the front side in the afternoon when the sun's gone. I'm happy with what I've got done today, even though it doesn't look much. Just continue now. Basically I've put a rafter, a couple of undulation, another rafter, another couple, another rafter, and then I'm going to underdraw them with some boards, which will mean I can get a centre fixing in. And there's not going to be much load on this roof because we don't get any snow. No, I've seen it snow once in the 17 years we've been in, and literally it was a covering on the grass. We certainly don't get a lot of snow, but hey, never say never in this crazy weather world. The biggest risk I've probably got here is wind uplift, is wind getting under it and actually forcing the roof sheets off. So I do need to make sure that they're properly fastened down. At the moment I've put about half a dozen fixings in just to stop these sliding down. I found some EPDM washers, but I think I'm going to have to buy some more. Probably need 50 or 60, and I've probably got about 30, so I'll have to pick up some more EPDM washers. But I think that's probably me done for tonight because I'm absolutely wringing wet with sweat. Yuck. So I'm going to go and have a shower. It's about 7:30, so it's probably be at o'clock to be fair. Right, I'll see you in the morning. Morning. Another early morning start just to try and beat the heat. When I said I was going to pack in last night, I actually ended up doing another half hour, and I achieved in half hour on this side, level the beam, put the first 2 rafters and the first sheet up in what I probably did in about 4 hours on that side. Once you establish the process, then it becomes much easier. Hopefully I get a couple of more sheets on the front this morning, then I'm pretty going to be able to work in the shade for an hour or 2. It'll be quite nice space in here. Obviously built it primarily to somewhere to put the car and protect the car from the storms, but this is about 12 feet by 18 feet in here, so actually it's a really nice space. So on a cooler, wetter day I can work in here, or actually it means I can put the lawnmower under here as well and just make the old workshop a bit bigger. But it'll be quite nice. It's also, because it's open at both ends, it's a little bit like the Breezeway construction, so get a nice cooling breeze through here even when it's hot. So actually it's going to be quite a multifunctional space there. And I think what I'm going to do, because at some point I'm going to get round to building benches in the workshop, but the old joiner's bench that I have now, I think I'm going to relocate that in here. Probably just get rid of that little staging that Lynn's putting benches on. They're the old doors off the old workshop. I do have a use for them, but that's probably for next year. Let's make the use of this morning coolness and put some more rafters up. I had to buy some more EPDM washers this morning as well. I got them from my favourite shop, Screwfix, so they should be here. Might even be here tomorrow. We've ordered them so early. If not, I've got about 20 left. forgot. I'm in such a rush to close out the heat. I forgot you've got to do them in lines and not in rows. You can't do row and then row. They don't actually fit together on the corner. So you've got to do a line, then a line, then a line. I forgot then. Well, that is all the sheets on. I've got to fix that one on. At the moment, all the sheets are just tacked on with a couple of fixings per sheet. I've got my EPDM washers coming hopefully tomorrow. Stainless steel fixings. I can get them properly fixed down. Hopefully we won't have a storm overnight and blow them all off. It's not forecast. So even though the roof sheets are all on now, we're far from finished because I've got to put some triangulation in. So I need to now reinforce the roof on the inside. I need to turn these two rafters and the king into a truss by putting a tie piece in, and then block all the trusses together. And also I'm going to put some more pieces under the arches, underneath the arches, just to reinforce the front. So obviously if you get some wind uplift, it's not going to try and rip the edge off. Got some bracing to put on this outside. I've still got to make some kind of gusset on to fix the centre post and the purling, and also reinforce that purling. I start this on Friday, Monday today, Friday, Saturday, yeah, so this is day 4. I've not really done full days, but probably done 4, 8, probably done 4 hours each day, maybe a little bit more. So far up to this point I've got 20 hours working. I've got 8 rafters left for all the blocking. Also got some of the thinner section, which is the same section I used to create that wall at the back of the barn. Hopefully there'll be some left so I can get back onto straightening that wall at the back of the barn. As of tonight, I think it's about 7:30. It's still absolutely boiling, so I might just put some diagonal bracing in, tile them rafters together. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tie braces. Whether I'll get all that done tonight, I don't know, but I'm going to go and get a drink of water and then we'll make a start on them. So I've got the roofing sheets all fixed on with the EPDM washers, or at the other end as well. I've reinforced the 4 joints where all 4 sheets come together on a joint, so got all that blocking done in there and the triangulation. So this has been a 5-day build, maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, around about 25 hours worth of work. So in terms of materials, I spent €610. I cast some concrete blocks around the bottom of the 3 posts just to give them a little regional flavour.